Sup team, how we going? First off, I just want to say a huge thank you to all you out there for supporting this Assorted Kiwi podcast. Life is assorted, taste is assorted, our minds are assorted, and our stories are assorted. The Assorted Kiwi podcast is where Kiwis can share their assorted perspectives, ideas, and dreams. Assorted is all about Kiwis connecting through what is important to them. Every idea is important to who you are. Some may miss, but the best ideas are the ones that challenge ways of thinking and also emotionally connect people to one another. This is the definition of the Assorted Kiwi. Yo, how we going? Welcome back, guys, to the Assorted Kiwi show, aka Origins. Got a special guest on the cow couch today, Sophie Gibson.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming along. It's awesome. I'm not going to be completely transparent with everyone out there. Last week we had booked it. I was hopeless. I was hopeless. I didn't wake up in time, and then I got a knock on the door. Sophie's here, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious. So it's a completely honest show, and it's completely me being completely transparent. But I'm just stoked that it's a bit of a nicer day.
Yeah,
than it was
it's a
last
lovely
time. It was a bit
day.
murky.
Oh, last time was so rainy.
But awesome to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
It's super cool. But first off, to get into it, give us a little bit of an introduction of who you are and what you do, because we're talking particularly about music, right? That's how we first connected.
Yeah. Okay, so introduction to me. I suppose I'm from Katikati, grew up in Katikati, and I started playing music quite young. My family's quite musical. And now I'm living up in Auckland. I study music and psychology, and I also am writing songs and releasing them, and I don't know, doing a few shows here and there. Yeah, so that's me, music and psychology gal.
That's awesome. And when did you first was you originally from Scotland?
Yeah, I'm originally from Scotland. So I was born in Scotland, and I had my first year of primary school in Scotland in a little town called Weems Bay, which is kind of near Glasgow.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I moved out with my family to New Zealand in 2005. So I've been here a good old 16 years now.
Yeah, but you've kind of back in Scotland, you still remember a lot of that stuff growing up.
Yeah, and we go back to visit every so often. We went back just before the COVID thing happened. Went back, in 2019 December. So it was literally just before everything went off. So
kind of lucky.
Yeah,
off
we
the
were really
scales.
lucky.
That's crazy.
Definitely.
That's awesome. And so, when did you first decide? You obviously listen to music all the time, come from a musical sort of background with your family. But what was the first kind of taste of music for you? How do you fully get into it outside of your surroundings?
That's a very good question. So I suppose I started with my family, and I really pretty much only started doing these things because my mum taught my sister guitar, a few chords, and I got jealous.
And you're like, no, I need to level up as well. I need to get into this.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm the older sibling. I should know. I should be doing this stuff. Okay, teach me. And my mom's Catholic, so we grew up Catholic, singing church songs and harmonizing in church and everything like that. So that was what I learned, was Silent Night, the chords for Silent Night first. Yeah, so that's
Fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact. And then I think what really got me into things was when my brother started gigging, because my brother sang and played guitar too.
Wow.
So he was mates with some people at the local pub in Katikati, and so they were like, yo, we need a singer, we need some songs for the restaurant, just background music type of deal. And he was like, oh, I suppose I can do that. I'll ask my mum if she can help me make a set list or something. And so we helped him make up this folder of songs that he played. And then I was kind of watching him, and I was like, I could do that.
Yeah, just inspired from like.
I was inspired. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Inspired or jealous. They're kind of the same thing sometimes.
You're like, I can do that. I see that. Like we're related. I've got it within me to do it as well.
Yeah. So then I started doing some gigs with him, harmonizing with his stuff, being a backup singer or filling in, because the gigs are kind of long and those restaurant gigs. And I kind of just went on a journey from there. I started doing singing lessons. I got really into it.
When was that? Was that around kind of high school kind of times?
Yeah, around high school. I was probably 14 or 15 and when we were singing in the pub.
Wow. That's like pretty awesome, like exposure at like that young age to kind of get into that in your journey, right? Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. And I had a really great community of people around me who were really into music because of my parents, really. Like, they had friends that they had like a little band with. Every so often they'd do a covers gig for somebody's wedding or like random bits and bobs, and they were always encouraging me like, Sophie, get up there and sing a song. And I was like, oh no, I can't do it, not at your band practice. I was nervous to sing at their band practice.
Like, the pressure was on even in that kind of like smaller
like
setting.
At 8 years old. I was like,
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's super cool. And that just kind of started getting your confidence up in terms of, oh, okay, I can start doing this and just keep doing. What was your, like, did you have like kind of a consistent kind of, when you started being a bit more of a lead and those sort of things, how was that journey as you started kind of transitioning from maybe backup harmonizer to, okay, the stage is yours? Like, when did that happen for you? Like,
good question. Yeah, so it kind of just happened naturally, really. It's when I started doing those singing lessons, I had a teacher who said, why don't you try writing a song? And I was like, writing a song? I was like, what? At the time, I liked writing, like, creative writing stories, and, like, I had a whole thing of characters. Me and my friends had, like, a memory stick we would share that had like a story, and we'd each write a page each night and like continue the story, and it was this whole thing. And so I loved that world of writing, and I loved music as well, but I just couldn't. I was like, how do I songwrite?
You couldn't fathom like those two worlds kind of intersecting.
And I told my mum about it, and mum was like, oh, that's perfect for you, Sophie, because you like writing and you like singing, just mix it together. I was like, oh, okay. Like, so yeah, and I used to be really, really nervous, and we would have these like end of year student concerts. And then, I don't know, I just started picking up more restaurant gigs. My teacher was telling me, why don't you get these gigs? Like, you can do it. Just send in a demo. So I made a demo with her. Made a little website, sent it to all these different restaurants, and then I think it was just because I was in the restaurant in the background, nobody's really listening to me, I started to feel real comfortable.
It kind of like the sounds coming from you, but you're not necessarily front and stage.
I was just like, and then I got myself a loop pedal because it was easier than playing the guitar for 3 hours straight. So I got the looper, and then when I got the looper, that's when everything changed. I kind of was just like, I can put the looper on and then grab my wine and sip on that, and then carry on singing and layer my vocals. And then, because I was in the background, I was just like, these people need to listen to me. They never listen to me. I need to make them listen.
Got you.
And so I was trying to get better and better and make more songs on the looper that were going to be, because there are a few like head turning songs in my set, but like most of it was just like,
was that all your own original songs as well at that time, or was it kind of a combination?
Yeah. I would do covers and then chuck in a few original songs here and there.
Just to kind of like mix it up a little bit, not so it's like a complete, like kind of take over your stuff at that point in time as you kind of got your confidence up. That's awesome. Yeah,
it was good. I think, it was funny just being in the background. I just suddenly wanted to stick out a little bit more for some reason.
It's like just kind of the inner confidence starts like, now you're ready.
It just started building, and then I was so nervous about my original songs, but then every time I played them, people would be like, what was that song you played? I was like, oh, it was my song. They were like, it was really great. It's like, well done. It was in this small town where everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
They're just trying to lift everybody up, and it was just really gorgeous. And
That's awesome.
yeah.
Like kind of that like empowerment and betterment.
Yeah.
Just, like supporting everyone.
Yeah, and everybody I showed was super supportive. And that really does help your confidence and like wanting to get out there more and pursue it when people are really supporting you, you know?
Because how long ago when you were kind of in that point in time where your kind of confidence was like, okay, I love being behind the scenes, doing my thing, but I want us to kind of take it to the next level. Like, how long ago was that? Was that kind of like a couple of years ago that you kind of started doing that? Or
Yeah,
was that when you were still in high school kind of?
there was a few funny things that happened in my life. So when I finished high school, I had still just been doing those restaurant gigs, kind of floating in the background a little bit, or occasionally try and do something to make people look. But then when I finished high school, I decided I'm going to leave, do a gap year. I gapped it to Chile, of all places, in South America.
I was gonna like ask you about that because that's always a place where I've always wanted to go. Like,
oh my gosh, it was
what inspired you to go there? Is it just something that you always wanted to?
Yeah, I always wanted to go somewhere else and like learn another language. I was really obsessed with learning another language for some reason. I thought it was so cool when like heaps of my friends in school would be bilingual, and I'd be like, that is awesome. Like, I want to know what it's like. Yeah. I want to know what it's like to live somewhere quite different.
And like immerse yourself within that place
and
take yourself away from what you've known. I mean, embed yourself into a new surroundings.
Yeah.
And inspiration.
New experiences. So off I went to Chile for a year. And then while I was there, like I was kind of trying to have a break from music because I'd been doing so many of those covers gigs in the Bay of Plenty for so long. I was like, I'm ready for my break. I don't know what I want to do at university. Don't know what I'm doing with my life. But when I was trying to have a break from it, you know, all the opportunities are still coming. And I had this band who I have 2 songs out now with on Spotify called Amité. And they sent me like a backing track, a beat sort of thing. They're like, hey, can you just write some stuff over this? I was like, I don't know how to do that. Write something over it? I was like, I admire your confidence in me, like asking me to write something over your beautiful song. Yeah. I don't know. And then they were just like, oh, Sophie, how are you going with that? We've got like a week to go. Can you get it in soon? And I was just like, oh, crap.
The pressure's on.
And so I was at the Metro in Chile and I'm listening to their beat and trying to hum along. And I have this little voice memo of me in the train station trying to sing quietly and not look crazy like I'm singing out loud to myself. Not drawing attention
to yourself, but like kind of doing your thing at the same time.
Yeah, and then after I sent that in, they were like, wow, it's amazing. We love it. We're so excited for releasing it. And then I was like, whoa, like, how did that happen? And then that really inspired me to carry on with the songwriting and release things because I loved that.
And you had that confidence and that reassurance of like, you're on the right path and got faith in your abilities and other people supporting you beyond kind of your own hometown or like friends and family.
Yeah, and like international. They're from the US. It was like
crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? But it really did build up my confidence a lot. And then I started to realize, hey, I can do this. I can write a song when these people send me this thing and have it done in like, you know, a few days. Yeah. I can do it.
And it's
I
like
can
completely natural without you having to force it or anything like that. It's just comes second nature to you now.
Yeah, like now it's my life. I love it. I love songwriting.
Yeah. It's like you've got like different like kind of styles of songs and I kind of reference.
Yeah.
The gig that you played, like the Breaking Sound.
Yeah.
Because that was awesome. Because that was probably the first time you performed in a while in recent times.
Yep. Yeah.
You kind of got different kind of styles of songwriting. Like some of the songs are quite, I wouldn't say comical, but they kind of are at the same time, like kind of real life experience.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah,
you know those ones, kind of different angles.
Reminiscing.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
which is
funny
awesome.
ones. Yeah.
And is that like when you're over in, because when you went to Chile to begin with, you're like, I want to just embrace myself in this culture and just like separate music, have a break from it.
Yeah.
But then was that earlier on that saw an opportunity, and then that just, did you start writing a lot when you're over there as well?
I did write a few more songs when I was over there, because I decided I wanted to apply for doing a music degree in pop music, and then I had to write 2 new songs, and I was like, oh dear. So there I was writing all these songs in Chile. I'd never done that. And then Reminiscing, I wrote a few weeks after I arrived back into New Zealand, because I had a boyfriend in Chile and we lived together, and I felt I felt funny being back in New Zealand, back away from him. I'd broken up with him, and it just felt like so surreal.
Yeah.
And I was, what do I do with this feeling? And I sat at the piano and I was like, oh man, played my jazz chords, and I was like, I need to write a song.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I was like, I'm never gonna show anybody this song because it's so personal, like reminiscing over you, and it had all of these references. So I was kind of worried to release it. I was like, oh my gosh, like a lot of it is true. It's real life stuff.
But it's so relatable at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, right? Like everyone, regardless if you where you are, everyone's had those kind of relationships where you kind of reminisce of those times, and that was probably like good at a certain time.
Yeah.
And then once it's kind of dust is settled, you're like, oh,
yeah,
kind of comical in itself.
It's funny when I landed back and started getting back into New Zealand life, I was like, wow, it was so funny that we were together for that long and all of these funny things happened. Like, it just is a different chapter of my life. You know?
It's like when you completely like separate yourself from that life that you had up to that point, and you just like you look back at it and you're like, oh wow, it's a time capsule of something that is so unique.
Yeah.
And just cherish memories regardless if it's good, bad, or indifferent.
I remember all the moments that I write all of these songs, and it's kind of like, it is like a time capsule, like you say. You remember exactly how you were feeling at that point, like where you were. Like oftentimes I'm feeling rather broken when I write a song. So it's like, but it's also a journey, and there's ups and downs, and it's cool to, I think it's going to be cool in the future. Like I've only just started in these past few years, but in the future, you know, to look back on these songs, I'll probably cringe at a lot of them, but to look back and see the time capsule of what I was feeling like, what I was going through, the emotions. Yeah.
And then also that time capsule of those emotions, but then just looking back and reflecting of how far you've actually come within writing those songs as well. That's awesome. So like so you came back in Chile, and then that's when you started kind of uni after that gap year, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you're like, okay, I really want to pursue music by doing an actual degree surrounding it.
Yeah. So
has that been like quite an awesome experience, like getting a little bit more understanding into beyond just doing what you had been doing, but kind of backing up with the kind of theory and kind of meeting other people who are like-minded as well. Like, I bet that could have changed your life as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's been the main thing for me is, you know, meeting the people. Because I mean, in the Bay of Plenty, it's more, well, I was in a really, really small town in Katikati, Waihi Beach, like so small. And sometimes when you're in that place, it's hard to think outside of it. And then when I was in Chile, I was, you know, all of my mates were speaking Spanish, and I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm just loving it. But then I arrived back into New Zealand and started doing uni, I had a few realizations. I used to be so nervous to show people my songs. I remember that first day of pop school where we all had to sit around in a circle around the classroom, and our lecturer is like, right, each of you are going to introduce yourselves, where you're from, and then you're just gonna sing a song. And I was like, an original song? They're like, yeah. I'm like,
whoa.
I'm just like sitting there shaking.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was like second or third, so I got it over and done with fast, and then I could just enjoy everybody else's performance. But yeah, we were all so nervous at that point, and now like 3 years later, everybody's finishing their degrees, and they've come such a long way. And yeah, the songwriting as well, that was such a big thing. I used to, like I said, I used to be so nervous. And I also, I kind of didn't think about the meaning behind the songs an awful lot before that point. I was sort of like, it would just happen naturally. And then I'd be like, wonder what that song's about. And I read it back and I'm like, interesting.
Yeah, like you kind of like, you write it. I mean, you're like, why am I writing this?
The process was a bit backwards in a way.
Yeah.
And then when I started, my lecturers were saying, Sophie, what does that lyric mean? And I was like, I don't know. I would love to know. And they're like, you have to think about these things a bit more. Think about the meaning the message you want your songs to convey. And then that was just like a light bulb. I was like, it's such a simple thing. I should have known it before, but it really changed the way that I write and shifted my focus and onto, myself and my message and how my art reflects that too.
Yeah, and it's been like kind of one and the same. Like the song is just a reflection of how you actually are feeling coming from you.
Yeah.
It's like genuine and it comes across.
Yeah.
And the way that it's intended.
Yeah.
With depth. That's awesome.
For sure.
And so what was around the whole uni journey? Because you're in your, is it third year? Yeah. Like what was outside of the song with that awesome US group, what was probably the next song that you probably formally released? But you're like, oh wow, okay, this is officially, my next like body of work, so to speak.
Well, I had a few things. Cause I had a second song released with Amité as well. And that was a thing I was very excited about because that was, when I was 6 months into that first year of uni too. And so that came out. It's called Something in the Water. And I did have a lot of meaning behind that song. And I think that's reflected because I had messages after it was released like, oh, Sophie, that song means so much to me. And like, that's what I live for. That's
they
really
kind of like connected with like people beyond yourself.
Yeah.
And like hearing that, it's like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. Something much bigger than myself.
Yeah.
So I love being a part of that. But yeah, with uni. And then after that song was released, I started looking for a place that I could go to record Reminiscing. So that was kind of the next big thing. Nice. And then after that, I wrote Deeper Waters, which is going to come out next month.
Yeah, and congratulations, by the way, like getting the funding from New Zealand on there for the music video surrounding that. Because that'll be your first official music video as well, right?
Yeah. That's
pretty awesome. Just again, it's like having milestones of reflecting back to those times like, like writing a song, so then now this is amazing, right?
Yeah,
like taking stock in those achievements. It's just amazing.
It is a journey. Cool. I'm really excited for that music video. Yeah, it'll be the first one that I've ever done. So cool. Exciting.
But like finding like different studio time and finding your own space to create. Because how were you kind of creating? What was your environment like when you? Was it just like having your guitar in your room writing, or have you always just done that and you were kind of bedroom studio, so to speak? Is that kind of how to do it?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So when I was writing Deeper Waters, I also wrote another 2 songs around the same time. It was kind of like through lockdown period last year. So I wrote Paper Skin, which is out on Spotify too, and Parachute.
Parachute,
well.
yeah.
And
I like Parachute.
Kind of they stem from the same kind of mindset and the same area I was in my life. I remember writing Parachute. I had an ex who I lived with in Auckland, and he was just sitting there, and I was on the other end of the room just crazily going like, I think this is working. Wait, chords. Okay, yeah, that's it. Write it down. And then through lockdown, Deeper Waters, I was just like, I feel like there's something I got to get off my chest, and just lock myself in my bedroom.
Yeah.
My ex comes in, he's, what are you doing? Like, oh, I'm writing a song. He's like, oh, okay. I'm like, goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. Like, I'm in the zone.
alone.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it out. Like,
yeah. I was like, yep. So they all kind of stem from that same space that I was in at that point in time.
And the feelings associated with it as well, right?
So that was kind of the next thing that I started to work on was that. And it's all kind of like the acoustic stuff. And that's what I was doing last year.
Yeah. And the focus on, I mean, do you find like with acoustic music, it's like more, it's kind of very vulnerable sound as well, right?
Yeah.
So then the focus is solely on like what you are saying within it.
Yeah.
And do you love that part of kind of acoustic music, that it is fully what is focused on just what you are saying and the voice and the harmony and all that sort of stuff as well?
Yeah, it's like, it's a love-hate relationship, because I really have to go deep into my brain caverns and figure out what's going on in my subconscious and why I'm feeling like I need to write this song. And because often I'll write a chorus line or something. Like for Deeper Waters, I wrote the chorus first. And then I was like, why am I singing Deeper Waters? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And then I realized, and so after that I started thinking about it more. I think I left it for another day or two. Like, it is a slow process for me writing those types of songs.
Yeah. But not something that you can just, sweet, cool, boom.
Yeah,
because it is, you are really
having to
deep.
channel something and dig really deep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then after that I was figuring out, like, okay, I suppose for me that kind of means like challenges, deeper waters, getting thrown in the deep end. Also for me, like, something in the water is about diving and feeling safe, but it's about kind of like diving into yourself.
Got you.
Finding a safe space within yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many different meanings, right?
There's that element as well to me. Yeah. So then from there I was like, okay, so now I know what I'm kind of wanting to write about. So filling in my verses and thinking about it lots and bridge and
it can be quite like, it must be quite a draining process, just particularly for those sorts of songs to really, they're kind of that love-hate relationship, right? Like kind of like off one part, but you kind of emotional process songwriting to that degree, right? When it is so for yourself
so
and
what and
so meaningful to you, but you want to do it, like, give it justice.
Definitely. And you get this feeling when you're writing it as well. You get the feeling like, oh, this is going to be a good one. And you know straight away as soon as you write it and you connect with it and you're like, wow. Yeah. And then I remember after I finished Deeper Waters, I looked at the paper. I was like, I finished it. It was like this little scribbly, because I don't write in an organized fashion.
You got your own hieroglyphics.
They write in an organized fashion. I make a list on the right side of different words that I like, or themes I like the idea of that I could weave into it.
Yep.
So that's all going on the side, and then I'm crossing it out and writing a new one and writing more in the little spaces between when I'm running out of space. Then on the other side is like the draft verses and chorus.
Wow.
And then that gets all scribbly because I rewrite my verses a million times.
This is all on this one bit of paper, right? You have to make sure it's completely covered and all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and new letters and abbreviations are incorporated, and no one can understand it but you.
And the little doodles when you don't know what to write, and I'm just writing like
symbols.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Just so I'm writing something. But yeah, I remember after I finished writing Deeper Waters, I literally was just like, oh, it's done. It's done. Put the paper down on my bed, put the guitar down, and I just went, oh.
Relieved.
So relieved. Just laid down and just basked.
Yeah. and just like fulfill that you had accomplished.
Yeah. It's a very satisfying feeling. Yeah.
Like in terms of like, and also what it symbolizes as well, that song, and just how you got to that point as well, right? Because as you were saying, we were talking offline about it, of that importance of, or just the kind of that vulnerability and speaking on that as well, and then a lot of that message is around the whole mental health and actually being transparent and just open about how you are feeling. Do you find like that's kind of trickled, once you got into the songwriting, that trickled into outside of music for you, in terms of your focus surrounding a lot of that kind of like mental health and like how you are feeling and how other people are feeling too? Like did that like kind of impact that once you kind of started writing songs like Parachute and Deeper Waters? Like,
yeah, so definitely music used to be, and writing really was kind of my only way of expression for a long time. And especially because, well, Deeper Waters and Parachute are both about my feelings about my brother who died to suicide. So those feelings were extremely intense. And as you know, there's this big stigma around suicide, big stigma about what to do with families, lots of guilt, lots of anger, thinking,
regret,
was it my fault? Why didn't he tell me how he was feeling? You know, what did we do
mind
wrong?
Cluster of like how you're feeling beyond just how that individual was feeling as well, and how you could help or prevent anyone else too.
For sure. And then, you know, I was still in high school at the time. I was 15 when he died. So it was this whole thing of everybody around me was so young too. Like, people had never experienced that level, something of that magnitude before. And so I felt very alone, and I couldn't really express myself to people because it made them uncomfortable. And they
didn't know how to say or how to react because they hadn't actually experienced it or
which
heard
is
of
completely
anyone.
understandable. I would be the same if before that point, before anything like that happened to me, I didn't know what to do, what to say. Still, sometimes I have my moments. But yeah, so for a while, music was kind of my only safe way of expression. Yeah. And then, you know, as I grew up, I sort of became more able to process it, had more control over my life. So last year was a big year for me with all of that sort of stuff, which is why, you know, Deeper Waters and Parachute all bubbled up to the surface at the same point. I started going to some support groups for suicide bereavement. And that was really good because I was just like, oh, these people understand.
Yeah, they're kind of like speaking a language that I can actually understand.
Yeah.
And make it, you know, just easy to open up.
Definitely.
And trust.
Yeah. And we talk about heavy stuff, but it's for us, it's normal. That's because that's our lives. Our lives are very heavy after what's happened. So it was really nice feeling that connection with people, not feeling alone after so many years, and then actually being able to process things a bit easier. And I started seeing a therapist as well, and she was experienced with suicide bereavement, so she was super, super great for me. And, you know, taking more control over my life, and because you know, the mental health, the grief had a big grip over me.
For a long period of time.
For a long time. Yeah. And music was my kind of escape.
Escapism,
Yeah. Music was kind of the gateway, and it still is. I come back to it every time something difficult happens to me, or every time something great happens to me, and I write about it.
Yeah.
And it's just always the gateway. And musicians as well, and people like you can discuss your songs with, you can discuss your life with.
Kind of open and just not as closed.
Yeah. And that's really, really great. That's definitely saved me, because I was in such a horrible space.
Yeah, and when taking those outside of music and getting those tools of kind of help and support, that just open up a lot more friendships and kind of like connections with a lot of other people that are kind of feeling the same way, or not necessarily kind of like suicide, bereavement, but just other things that they're going through, and feeling that they can kind of come to you and kind of
For
share
sure.
their experiences too.
The thing I started to realize was the more I was open about these things, the more other people felt like they could be open with me.
More connected and understanding of how you're going through, and the empathy. Right.
Because I used to lie about it. I made every excuse under the sun. People were like, "Where's your brother?" I was like, he works overseas."
Yeah, you just didn't know.
I couldn't.
You couldn't say.
I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't say it. And then in those support groups, I realized, I have to put myself out there a little bit to be able to get support and allow for people to hold space for me and understand and accept the support, because that's hard for me. But yeah, and it's kind of come full circle now, because now I feel like I've not dealt with it, but kind of it still will come up every so often, and it's really difficult when that happens. And it's still, I think about him every single day. That's the thing with grief. That was the first thing I was told by one of my family members after. It was my granddad. He said, you'll think about him every single day for the rest of your life. And you do. It's that way. So it is a long, it's changing. It's a permanent change to your life.
Exactly.
Basically, yeah. But now that I feel like I have been able to deal with it in a more healthy way and allow myself to get the support, now I've started, coming full circle. I'm studying psychology, and I started volunteering for a helpline.
Awesome.
Helps people with anxiety, and that's been really, really great for me too.
Yeah.
Because now that I've been through all these things and I've had the support,
help other people.
Yeah, I can share what I've learned. And that's the only way to really fulfill yourself, and to keep what you've learned is to give it away.
Yeah, just give the codes, give the tools. Support.
It's so fulfilling.
It is quite fulfilling, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then just being aware of kind of all the things that you have gone through to get you to that point.
Definitely.
It does make it more meaningful to be able to give that advice out, or the support, and just being there as a conversational. Right?
Yeah, just being there. Even sometimes it's not even conversation. Like when my friends are going through rough times, we just,
be present.
Just make them a cup of tea and we just sit there in silence.
Yeah, exactly. It was like something my granddad used to always say. It's because I would just always go around to his, and he's like, Hamish, sometimes we just sits. Sometimes we sits and chats. Sometimes we just sits and sleeps. Like we just, as long as we're sitting and we're present in the present, Yeah. And that's like a lot. Even giving people those that time.
Wow.
Is like, it means so much to a lot of people, right?
Definitely.
That's awesome. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, because we're talking about deeper waters, do you mind if I actually play a little snippet of it?
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
And it's I think it's only right that we play this so then people are familiar with it. And it's on SoundCloud, isn't it? At the moment.
So
it's coming to...
It is coming next month on the 20th.
Awesome.
That's the day before my brother's birthday. So,
wow.
it's kind of
connected.
dedicated to him.
Yeah. we'll play like a little snippet of this, and I'm just honoured to be able to press play on this platform as well. So we'll have a little listen, guys.
Thought I could see the ocean floor from where I stood, wondering how far I would sink if I
Really need to get right into my
I see you
hard about my
at
brother.
the bottom, looking up to
Really
where
listen to that as well.
Yeah.
Right, it's like what we were saying. It's like it's not only when you're in like kind of a good spaces, like kind of in the creative musician space where you can put those feelings out, and then people who may not have the tools to be able to talk, they can actually listen to it like, oh wow, I feel connected.
Yeah,
that as well.
that's the only thing I want with my music is that to connect with other people, and hopefully make somebody feel like they're not alone.
Yeah.
Like somebody understands them. 'Cause there's been lots of songs that have done that for me. Like I remember this one song after my brother died, I just played on repeat and it got me through. It just made me feel really understood was the main thing. And that was a Ben Howard song called Everything. And I was just like, wow, that's my song. So that's kind of the inspiration, or that's like my hope for me sharing my art with other people.
Yeah, to have that feeling that you had with that Ben Howard song.
Yes, to just help people out, make them feel seen, make them feel like someone understands.
That's awesome. And what other sort of inspirations do you have, like from a musician like point of view? Like what other stuff are you listening to all the time that kind of whether it's sharpening your sword as a songwriter or just getting the inspiration of kind of sonics or sounds? So what are you listening to on your kind of day to day, whether it's in your car or in your headphones or at home? What are your favorite artists to kind of listen to kick back?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. Yeah, I've been like anybody who knows me knows I'm completely obsessed with this Spanish artist called Rosalia. Oh my goodness. She has this whole conceptual album where it's all following a story. And each song is like named after a chapter in a book that's about like an abusive relationship. And it's this old book from, I forgot where she's from, in Spain. And it's just amazing because she's like woven it all in a way and like made it modern, but she's got this like flamenco music kind of twist to it, and a bit poppy too. So I just love that creativity in the songwriting. There is amazing. I don't think I
they're
could
kind of
ever
taking something quite old and kind of giving it a new spin.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like more of a contemporary sound.
Yeah, and I think that's just beautiful as well. Taking inspiration from other artists too for what you do. So I look up to her a lot, and her voice. Oh, her voice is crazy good. You have to listen sometime. I'll send you.
Yeah, definitely.
And then lately, because I've been working on some kind of R&B pop stuff as well. I've been trying to listen a bit more into that world. So like her.
Ah, fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely like hers is definitely in my alley. Like
Yeah.
her new album, I love that new album.
So good. Back of my mind.
Yeah. So good.
I love that.
So much soul in a lot of those artists.
So much soul. And that was something I've been pondering as well, listening to her. There's a few songs I listened there where, you could tell that she'd really sat there in her feels for a long time, thinking about it and bringing up what was going on and looking at herself really hard. Yeah. And I admire that. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of work that you've put into yourself and your own development as a person.
Yeah.
But also you've translated it into your music as well so beautifully.
It's kind of like how you were saying that learning of like when you were like writing stuff and those kind of learnings at uni of like why did you say that,
Yeah.
and like having those meaning and actually being
Having a
kind of solid
meaning.
in terms of what your kind of purpose in your writing is. Like
Yeah.
artists like that, you can hear it before you can actually kind of decipher the lyrics. You just feel it.
Yeah.
You know, that's awesome.
For sure.
And is that like and is that kind of that kind of sound? It is a bit different. It is obviously a bit different outside of the acoustic sound, but do you find like that kind of that sound of outside of your voice, but kind of the kind of instrumental surrounding that kind of the dark R&B kind of adds another layer of kind of depth
Yeah.
to it, as well as that kind of an interesting kind of
Oh.
and as an artist getting into that world as well as from a sonic standpoint outside of your vocals and how it can complement. Is that kind of a new kind of feeling for you?
Yeah, it's new. I'm trying to have a bit more direction in production and
Yeah.
stuff. I love dark sounds.
Yeah.
I love weird sounds.
Yeah.
So it's kind of trying to weave all of that into it. Like, somebody like Billie Eilish, lots of darkness in there. And I like that kind of sound too, as well with her. She's got a whole big, like she always has a lot of darkness, a lot of low end coming through in her vocals. And like, yeah, I think that's so cool as well. So
That deeper water sound in a way,
Yeah.
we're beyond the vocals, but the actual instrumentation, like, that's amazing.
yeah, and it is different to like my acoustic stuff I've been doing before. But I mean, I'm enjoying the journey. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying the evolution. I didn't really grow up with that much R&B in the house or anything. Yeah, my parents are Scottish. We had a lot of English kind of pop, UK pop
Yep.
stuff going on in the house.
Yeah.
My dad played the saxophone as
Oh,
well,
wow.
so there was a bit of that, all that jazz going
the
on.
jazzy,
My
nice.
mum kind of grew up with classical violin.
Wow.
My sister plays violin too. I grew up classical piano. So I'm quite familiar with those kind of acoustic sounds and the acoustic vibe. But then, yeah, so I need to do lots more research on my own for the R&B kind of style.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for it because I think it is like a new challenge, just pushing me, showing me different things I can do with my voice. Because, the acoustic stuff is quite straight sometimes with your voice, and R&B is a bit more, lay behind
able
the
to
beat
bend it.
and bend
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
That's
a bit more space to do some more things.
No, that's awesome.
Which
And
is
it's just like
exciting.
another like kind of like strength to your bow as a songwriter as well, understanding how to kind of use and manipulate your voice in different soundscapes.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not even sure what I'm doing with all my genres.
Yeah.
It's just constantly changing. Like I did a rap song a little while ago.
Yeah. Was that with Benjamin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Ben and Zane.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've done all sorts of random things like that. And I did a pop song as well called Into the Fire that's on my
Yeah.
Spotify at the moment. That was quite outside of my box. I was like, oh, this is very poppy. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but
But you have to do it to kind of
yeah.
hear it and
Yeah,
experience it as well, right?
just showing me different things I can do with my voice and my sound, and that's really exciting.
That's cool.
Like pushing myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also, like outside of the music, you do another kind of cool thing while you're on the podcast at the moment. You kind of have your own podcast as well. Well, I love to, for you to talk about, because the message surrounding it's awesome beyond it being part of kind of what you're studying as well. But you talk about that because you kind of found kind of a new love outside of the music for that project too. And I think it's just awesome. Talk away on that because it's really cool.
Definitely. So I've got this podcast called They're a Vibe. And it's not out yet, but I've been recording the episodes. So first season's episodes are all done. It's probably going to start coming out in September, I believe, or August. And yeah, the whole idea behind that was interviewing female identifying, non-binary, transgender diverse people about their experience being musicians and being successful musicians. So that's been really exciting because I mean, don't want to bag the industry, but sometimes in some spaces you can feel funny being a female. Like it's very male dominated, and there are different challenges that we go through because of that. And that was kind of the inspiration, but I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't want to be complaining about it because there are some great musicians out there. I just want to shine the light on them, I want to bring it out.
And kind of the learning of kind of their perspective.
Yeah, and
as well.
learning and hearing their voices because, everything in this industry is trying to not hear their voices. It's like, well, not everything, but their voices get lost quite often in the noise. So I wanted to bring that out, and it's been really great. I've learned so much.
Yeah, sort of a rewarding, fulfilling process. Like you've been saying, all these different things have kind of boosted your understanding and
and learning about myself too, because the people I'm interviewing, some of them are my mates, and they'll be like, "Well, you know this. You're a successful musician too," and I'll be like, "Oh, really?" I'm just like, "Oh, wow!" Like
well, thanks.
I when I'm being the interviewer, I forget like who I am, what position I'm in my career. So I've been also learning things about myself and my own resilience, and it's been cool. We've been talking a lot about, having community that are supportive, having representation, other role models, inclusivity. And I think the main thing that's come out of it so far is this idea of having a community and also having a purpose.
Yeah.
Like having a fire. I talked about it was funny. There was like 2 different musicians that said the exact same words. They said fire in my belly.
Fire in your belly
There's a
for
fire
what
in
you
my
want
belly.
to do and what you want to achieve for others as well.
I want to be a musician and I want to be a role model for the younger generation of musicians. So they grow up seeing these diverse people and being like, wow, know.
Exactly.
So
and
that's
relatable
really
and
cool.
allowing them to participate and do what they want to do, what their intent is.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
and so we had talks about as well, like, banding together your community, combining community and purpose, like being surrounded by people who see your vision and like support you. Or we talked about in Tauranga, they're starting like they call it takata party. So a party for the LGBTQ plus community, which is really great because we never really had that in Tauranga. In Auckland, there's K Road. There's
different places, but like it's so important to kind of create these environments for all people.
Yeah. So that's really exciting, and in Mount Wanganui, it's just like it's growing a lot, and I've seen the community shift there a lot over the years. It's very noticeable because it's such a small place and everything's so interconnected, and it's just becoming so much brighter, more inclusive, more exciting. I love it.
So a lot of excitement when there's everyone's just a sense of freedom in a way, like, and like the importance of having that like kind of positive, supportive environments. For a lot of people to shine. And for their fire to burn.
So important for music. Having the people who back you and having each other's backs, going to their gigs, encouraging them, listening to their songs, giving them feedback, keeping them going when all of us artists would get imposter syndrome and all these horrible things.
Because you get in your head a lot.
You do. And it's really nice just to have so many people around you that are just like, what are you on about?
Like, you
You're
can do it.
great.
You
You
can
can
do it.
do
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
You've done it before. You can do it again.
Yeah.
You've got this. You can do good at this show.
Yeah, it's always like it's always natural to feel those sort of kind of insecurities sometimes, but it's always super amazing to have those people where they do give you a little bit more gasoline in that fire, because it can't be on all the time, otherwise you do burn out a lot. But I know that's awesome. No, that's super cool. Oh, honestly, it's been such an awesome chat.
Yeah, we
I mean,
discussed
we
a
did
lot of
cool
bits and
stuff,
bobs in
a
this
lot
one.
of bits and bobs. But I mean, I'm just looking forward to like Deeper Waters, the release of that for a lot of people, the music video, and a lot of other stuff as well, because it's just got an amazing voice, amazing message,
Thank you.
and everything is kind of just moving in a direction that like you've paved out for yourself, right?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Trailblazing.
So like
But
outside of like
moving forwards.
outside of those releases, is there anything else like you kind of got on the cards? Because you're doing a lot of other stuff, like you're tutoring with other people as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna start a job teaching the little kiddies their vocal lessons.
They're passing
so
on that knowledge again.
passing
to
on
them.
the knowledge. It's really great. I love trying to get them to songwrite as well, because I'm like, oh, who knows what I've just done? I might have just inspired the next little Lady Gaga coming out of here.
You never know. Eh?
Yeah, you never know, and it's always good to be supportive where you can. And along with the releases, I'm thinking about doing another little show for
Nice.
Deeper Waters release.
Awesome.
And like a mental health fundraiser.
Cool.
The support group I went to at Waihi Beach, they have this project called Socks Against Suicide.
Oh, wow.
And it's just they knit these socks for people who've been bereaved by suicide. And it's really nice. They gave me a pair of socks, and it's just whenever you put them on,
you feel
you just I was like, oh, somebody actually knitted those. Spent like hours knitting these things for me.
so meaningful.
And it keeps your toes warm, and you're like, yes. So I'd love to support what they're doing, because there's so much of it happens in New Zealand, and so many people need the support.
100%.
Just it's a small thing, but it means a lot to me. So I'm sure it means a lot to a lot of other people too.
Definitely.
So I'd like to support that project, and what they do at the support group as well, having their food and teas every week and renting the place. So just whatever I can do to help out.
No, that's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been an honor to just have you come up, sit on the couch, tell your story.
Thank you so
Anyway,
much for having
honestly,
me.
I'm just looking forward to just what's going to happen next. It's just always positive vibes,
Always positive vibes, moving forward.
Exactly. But on the last part of the sort of Kiwi show is it's a New Zealand platform. We talk to Kiwis. Like, always like to kind of finish off with a Kiwi track, and chosen by yourself, right? So if you were to kind of like think of any sort of like Kiwi musician or a song to play out on, what song would that actually be? Put you on the spot, and we can play out on the way out.
Oh,
It's a bit of a pressure.
Oh wow, a Kiwi artist. Who do I? Oh, the one that's coming to mind right now is Birds.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. I like Birds. What song?
Is it called Everything Goes Wow?
Let's have a look. It's always I love this part of the show, even though it's at the end. It's just like everyone has different
Everything's
tastes.
Looking Peach. That's a good one.
That's awesome. Because it's awesome, like how like everyone has. There's just so much awesome talent in this country as well, right? Is there any way we can showcase it? But it's awesome that every single guest that we've had, there's always somewhat just totally different songs, right? And it's just a showcase. Like it isn't just one song of this country. It isn't just like OMC, how bizarre, so to speak. There's so much awesome music.
There's a lot of beautiful things coming out. of New Zealand.
Yeah.
So many of my mates as well,
Yeah.
everybody I know in music is doing amazing things, and they've got amazing messages. So it's really great
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah, it's
doing this and like
that's
sharing it
cool.
around.
That's
It's so cool.
I mean, it's just something that it's just awesome. And if anyone hasn't heard this song by Brood's Peach, play it and love it.
Yeah.
It's a tune. So awesome. Thanks, Sophie. Honestly.
Thank you.
And catch you guys on the next one. This is Brood's Peach. Once it plays.
Love the peace when I feel alone. It's a part of me that I never run from. Black and white, playing clean surround. Feet on the ground, but I hate it down there.